Pleasant good morning, one and all. Good morning. Welcome to today's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. Welcome, one and all. Today is Wednesday, the 9th day of April 2025. And here we are again for another program, another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. I invite you as we start to share the live. I must inform you at this stage that I have a little unstable internet connection. So let's hope that you can hear me loud and clear and that we're going to get the opportunity to bring you the credible and valuable information. So share the live. Today, Wednesday, the 9th day of April 2025, another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks for being in the land of the living. It's a privilege to be in the land of the living. And I must again compliment you all, students. We had a large number of students in the schoolyard this morning. That was to be expected. The program went live. The school gates were open at 7 exactly, precisely at 7 o'clock. And the students flocked into the schoolyard. And when the doors were open a few moments ago, I can see people streaming in. People from all over streaming in. So welcome. Share, let them know. And as I said again, I have detected a little unstable connection. So let's hope that you can hear me and that we're going to get the opportunity to bring you. We have lots to discuss this morning. As is now customary, we have lots to discuss. My colleague CC is in the studio, ready and waiting to bring you credible, valuable information. As we indicated to you on the announcement for the program yesterday, when we made the announcement yesterday, we're going to deal not almost. We're going to deal a lot today with the incidents at Linden, Region 10, where police shot and killed 2 men. So we're going to go into that. We're going to discuss the tactical aspect. We're going to discuss the investigative aspects. We're going to discuss it in detail. So share the live. And the policemen who are on the line, on the live, I know many of them are. And those who are going to look at us on YouTube later, there are going to be lots of nuggets, lots of tidbits for you to take away. So make your notes because you're going to have references to the relevant laws and so on. So you can do your own research and to see what we are telling you, what we are trying to convey to you. So yeah, share. Give us the thumbs up as you come in. As I said, what we're going to do, we're going to do the usual roll call. The usual. We get a format by now. We're going to do the roll call. I'm going to try to make that as quick as possible. And then I am going to go into the announcements. And then we're going to go into some issues. You know, we continue to tell you when we leave one day, we have in mind perhaps some of the things that are left over to discuss the next day. But things are so dynamic, things are so fluid that by the time we come to the next program, so many things have happened. And that is exactly what happened between Monday's program and today. Because, look, Monday night, the killing of the young man in Linden. Then yesterday, the killing of another man in Linden. We had so much that over the past 24, 40, 36 hours, bloody Guyana. We're going to talk about these things. Well, let me go into the roll call, and then we're going to move on. 7 o'clock, we scheduled. UK beat them to the punch. Wayne from UK was here first. Then it was Ulrich. Where's them? Good to see you early, Ulrich. Marcia, Carlton, Fergus, John, Peter, Lucius is here. Sean from upstate New York, Floyd, Connor Brookman. Then it was Kenneth, Benji, Anthony from Petersall. Anthony again, another Anthony is here. They all came in at 7. Shortly after, we had Barbara, Shalon, Joan from New Amsterdam, Clifton, Pastor Smith is here, Wayne, David, then it was Tessa, Keith, Harold, Felicia, Patricia, Sandra, Pito is here, Pauline, Winston, and Winston is from California, Carol, Gaston from Canada, Lennox, Cecile, Barlett from Linden. Barlett, hope you're safe, my brother, hope you're safe. Then it was Terrence from Canada. There, Trotty is here. Courtney, Rawl, 11752. Rhonda. Then it was Puran. Then after Puran, We had Clifton from Paris is here. Everett, Brian Francis Keith from Melanie Damashana, and he says he's mourning. He's in solidarity with the people from Linden. We all should be. Vibert, Uncle Paul is here. Ivor, Dexter, Floyd, Bonita, Linden, Jakey is here with us. Jakey came in at 7:08 along with others. Clarence, Aubrey Pontless from Canada, Machu, Malcolm, Paul from Canada is here. Michael, Melinda, Tiffany, Diane, Simoa, Desiree from Georgia is here with us. Then it is Vibert from the East Bank of Demerara, Asa, Sean, Emerson, Walterine, Queenie, Aileen, Lawrence, Russ Ricardo is in class, Neville, Winslow is here with us, Claire, then it is Pito again, Linton is here, Patrick Rodney, 12128 is here with us, Daniel, Denise, Umi is here, Brenda, Jake Ridley, the angel is with us, Rosalind, Brian, says his number was 21698. Then we have Jacko from Georgia. Tallulah is here. Kay Ainsworth is with us. Carl, my squad mate, 9414 from Arizona is here with us. Isabella is very much in class. Then it is Neville, Anthony, Annette, Michael, the man from Imbai Madai is here. Joseph, Dorette, Marva, Martin, Father Masha, Mary, Selwyn, Marlon is here, Siobhan, and after Siobhan it's Earl, then Princess Earl from Lamar Springs, Donald, Kevin is with us, Jean, Pamela from West Dem, Compton, Lorraine, Nigel, Valerie, Michael, Michelle, John, Kerry from Maryland, then it is Siobhan, Machu, Hazel, Original Black Man is here, Monica, then Abera, Randolph, Albert, Leon, Magnell, Elton, Janet, Grace is here, Colin, Sharon from the UK, Denise the secretary, Ovid, Shamar, Clay, Keith from Barbados is here with us, Bernadette, Grantley, John from Tennessee, Audrey from Maryland, then it is Kurt, Claudius, Leroy, Vibord 7464 is here. Elroy, Heather is here with us. Rondell, Rhonda, that I'm selling the house. Henrik from Queens, Jerry, Paulette, Terry is here. Dion, Danny, 9731 is here with us. Lyndon, Monica, Melville, Machu, Phil, Maureen, Stefan. True Guyanese, all of us should be. True Guyanese. Moses, Orin, Lyndon, Lenin, this look like a new student. Rastaman, Natasha, David, Esla, Dylan, Conali, Bernard, Sharon, Duan, and Rayburn. Then after Rayburn, it's his Lance, Trevor, Doreen, my squad mate from Canada, Nicola, Dwayne, John, Malcolm, Terence, Tari, Troy, Orin from the UK, Clive from the UK, Roy from Schenectady, Sanjin Bade, Ricky, and this is look like a new student too. Welcome. Lincoln looked like a new student. Paul, Clifton, George, Lester, Claude. After Lester is Claude. Cheryl is here from New Jersey. Aubrey is here with us as well. Dunsford, and Dunsford is from Mocha. Marcus, after Dunsford is Marcus, Vernon, Lorraine, Margot, Chilo is here, Leslyn, Orville, Joyce, Trevor, Dion, Yeson from Trinidad, Simone, Verlin, Kibon, Alista, Shamron, Anita, look like a new student too, Michael from the islands, Gordon, Cedric, Lennox, then it is Marlon, Leon, David, Cranston, Courtney, Roxanne, Raquel, Karen, Gerald, Lyndon, then it is Dion, Denise came back, then it was Forbes, Amanda, R. Crawford, the last. I flew through that. Lots of students in the schoolyard, lots of students. I tried to make that as quickly as possible. And then when the doors were open, Edward Charles is here again very early. Carlton Popo, Trifosa, Wells, Claudine Lynette from Barbados, Joyce Prince, Novella, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So welcome to all you students. Share the live, continue to share the live, and give me thumbs up. What, over our 900 students in the classroom at this time, and we have what, 45 thumbs up. Not good enough. Not do you. We are going to do our part. You make sure you do your part. Now for the announcements. Let me start off by reminding us that this is an election year. General elections are due in Guyana sometime this year. And we will continue to warn you about the craziness to be expected. They call it silly season. We have already seen signs of that. And my expectation is that you're going to have more madness in the place. And I'm going to tell you why. Then I remind you too that we're still in the Lenten season. Our Christian brothers are still observing Lent, which ends next Friday, the 18th, Good Friday. We also have, we told you about this devastating earthquake in Myanmar. The toll now is over 3,600, over 3,600 dead. And then we have reporting to our nightclub that collapsed in Dominican Republic. 113, the death toll at this stage is 113. Imagine a nightclub collapse and 113 revelers, party goers are killed. And that's the number so far. Chances are that number is going to increase. Hope not. We hope not, but indications are that the number is going to increase. Let me take off this student from the thing here, and then we're going to continue with we're going to continue. Right, we're going to continue. Now, and I need to remind us too, that today, April the 9th, 2025, is 392 days since Police Sergeant Vaughn was killed. They said on duty. He was on duty, he said he was killed 392 days. And apart from the initial report, we are not hearing anything. And today, marks the, let me get it right. Today marks the anniversary of the killing of Donna McKinnon. Donna McKinnon was killed on the 9th of April 2021. For those of you who don't know the background to that, there was protests going on around Georgetown, specifically around Freedom House. And it is alleged that someone from Freedom House, which is the headquarters of the ruling government, the current ruling government, PPP, fired shots, and Donna McKinnon was gunned down outside Freedom House. Well, today, April 9th, is the anniversary. That incident took place in 2001. 2001. You got to keep reminding people of these things, because people come and they convey issues like if Guyana history started yesterday or if it started in 1992. It's a long history. And we got to keep reminding people of these incidents. Yeah, Donna McKinnon, 9th of April 2001, was shot and killed in Robb Street, around Robb and King Street area there. They said that the bullets came from Freedom House. And for those of you who don't know, Freedom House is the headquarters of the current ruling PPP government. Got to keep reminding y'all of these things. And let me go to the happier announcements. Today, what we have today for board days. Today, well, we have belated. We don't have any listed for today, but belated board days too. Detective, I think he was Senior Superintendent Kennard Baran. I know Kennard, he was a member of the cricket team. We used to play from Essequibo Coast. I think he lives somewhere in Canada now. Today is his birth anniversary. Today is also the birth anniversary of Tracy Benjamin Long. I think she's from West Coast, Barbados. Tracy Benjamin Long. She was Tracy Benjamin, and then she married Larry Long, who was one of the guys who worked with me at the TSU and who was with me with the United Nations in Namibia. So today is Tracy's birthday. I want to, first of all, before I go to the birthday, I want to express condolences to the people who have passed, those in the earthquake, those in the collapse of the nightclub, and got to keep offering condolences to the relatives of Donna McKinnon, and to the people who celebrated birthdays, who are celebrating today, whether you were mentioned or not, those who celebrated recently and those who are going to be celebrating in the near future. Wish you all the best on your natal day. And let me bring in Mr. Well, before we got cricket going on. I know for you like me and CC, you have divided attention. You're glancing. I get my iPad nearby so I can glance and keep abreast with the score. I see it's 142 after 14 overs. Gujarat Titans batting. So yeah, let me be gonna not be distracted, but we got to keep abreast. That is our love. We love the game, and we got to keep abreast with what is going on. Let me bring in CC. CC, welcome, my brother. Welcome.
Good morning. Praise the Lord. We're all in the land of the living to do God's work. I know today is going to be a very hectic session episode with what took place at Linden over the past couple of days. So let's get on with it.
Yeah, let's get on with it. And one of the students reminded me that we need to express condolences to the relative survivors of those two guys who were killed in Linden, one Monday night and one yesterday morning. Yes, and that is that incident there gonna form the greater part. We're gonna take the greater part of today's program. Now, one of the first things one of the things we're gonna go into now is reported last night that two bandits died after being shot by a security guard. It is reported that two bandits they went to rob a supermarket in Atfield Street, and the security guard killed two. I don't know if it's only two men went to do the robbery, but these two of them are dead, which is a good thing. Let me understand what is a good thing. Once shooting is justified, and based on what is being said, what we see on social media, the shooting is justified, and they are dead. Good riddance. Good riddance. They are dead. There's a video circulating on social media, and I looked at it last night. The other still images. But let me say this: you got to talk about it in any great detail this morning. But the sociologists have got to investigate and to tell us what is forcing these young people to turn to a life of crime. What is forcing them to turn to a life of crime? Yes, they're dead and they go on thief and they arm bandits, they get shot and they get killed. Good. But we have to go deeper into it. Not just say, yeah, two dead because you seem to have something. They are being manufactured. How is it that people are turning to a life of crime? And I made the point before, and I'm going to talk about it again. Some sociologists suggest that crime is functional in that it tells you that the agents that are supposed to socialize the individual are not working. And those primary agencies of socialization, including the family, the school, the church, the community, it tells you that when people turn to a life of crime, that it's an indication that these systems are not working properly. So don't just talk and don't just, as we say, people don't want to work. That is not always the case. It has to be deeper than that. If people are killed or they're thieving because they don't want to work, what happened to all those who are employed? Many people are employed in offices, get good job, and they're thieving too. So, this thing is deeper than this. And we say, so don't come and tell us, as they want to do, oh, it's two bandits gone. Yeah, two bandits gone. I said, good riddance. But we need to investigate deeper to find out why is it, especially the young people, are turning to a life of crime. And as I've said, that's for the sociologists to go into good all the data and so on to tell us. Because one of the students said, well, it's because they don't want to work. Not always the case. Because if you're making that argument, then you're saying that the people who are working should not be thieving. And a lot of the people who are working and they're thieving more than what the bandit can ever get from a Chinese supermarket. So this thing called for more in-depth study and a more in-depth discussion, right? So let me understand that, right? Somebody said 15 years old and all. It requires some in-depth analysis, and that is political talk. They're going to talk, and then when you look at the ethnic group, is one set of people thieving. Not so. let's have a scholarly discussion, not we on this program, but there should be a scholarly discussion on why the youths are turning to the life of crime. And let me say this before I bring in CC to discuss this particular matter. We discovered some years ago, when I was in the force, that when they have these big shows, see the advertise now, very soon Vibe Cartel is going to come. I see some ridiculous prices, 400 and something $1,000 for ticket and something like that. I might be wrong, but that is what I saw. We have data, back in the days, we had data to show that when you have these shows, these dancehall artists and these shows coming, crime, certain type of crime, street crimes in particular, will rise. And we concluded that is so because people getting money, they also get money to go to these shows. Crimes are likely to increase in the lead up to these big dancehall artist shows and so on. That is what the data showed back then. I don't know what it shows now. I don't know if they do any analysis, because it seems like they just come out with these statements which are not supported by data, not supported by facts. So again, before I bring in Mr. Conway, don't let me, yes, I am fully in agreement. They're going to rob, they're shot and they're killed. Good riddance. Good riddance. I have no sympathy for them. But I'm saying that we need, not we here, right? But people, the scholars, the sociologists and them need to go into this thing much deeper to find out what causes these young people in particular to turn to a life of crime. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. CC, your view on this matter.
Well, there's another view, another thinking. People talk about the crime triangle, where you have the perpetrator, the victim, and the location. And what has been happening is that we concentrating heavily on the perpetrators, the victims, and very little attention is paid to the locations where things are happening. They use a term at the location. They say there is a lot of pistol. Things happening there politically, economically, technologically, legally, and environmentally that impacting on crime, that causing crime to flourish. And we're not paying attention to it. And if we pay maybe more attention to the locations where things are happening, things are happening that allow crime to follow, to flow. I'm repeating, the political, economical, technological, legal, and environmental. They call it the pistol. So we need to concentrate a little more on the pistol, on the locations where things are happening. Not only yes, we must concentrate on the perpetrator and the victims. We're saying there is a crime triangle, the perpetrators, the victim, and the locations, and very little is paid to the location. Therefore, crime will continue to flourish.
Right, I agree with you. I agree. And again, as I say, I'm going to say that Slow and Conway siding with criminals. Not at all. We spent years in the law enforcement arena. Not at all. But we're saying, and that is part of my training in at the police academy and so on, you got to look, because if you continue to deal with the fruits, as Mr. Conway would tell you, then the tree will continue to bear whatever is the bad truth. You have to look at the root cause. What is the root cause? You're going to always have crimes. All societies have crimes. You have societies where if you're caught stealing, they cut out your hand, and yet still people thieving, right? So you're going to have crime. But you have to investigate to find out what is, it's like it's a factory. It's a factory. Younger people in particular, why? And one of the problems that we have, what I believe, is that when these things happen, people there, they might say, good riddance. But no proper investigation is done to find out the background of these people. What background they come from. That might lead, how far did they go in school? What about the parental control? All of these things should be investigated. And then we might very well see a pattern that you can then address to try to eliminate some of these things. So it's not good to come blandly and say, well, they don't want to work. Not always the case. Not always the case, because again, I say that if that is your argument, that people are stealing because they don't want to work, well, then why people who are working, in many cases earning good money, are still stealing too? Might not be committing robberies, but they're stealing. So let me understand this. Let me move on. Now, last night, as I indicated to you, they well, I'm gonna ask CC. Let me bring in CC. CC one, the students want you to repeat and explain the acronym, the PISTL. So for the purpose of that student, please go ahead. They want, please repeat the
Okay,
acronym.
let me just put it in context. We're saying that there is a crime triangle: the perpetrator, the victims, and the locations. And most times we concentrate heavily on the perpetrators and the victims, but the location is left untouched. And the acronym we call it PISTLE, PESTLE. Things happen politically, economically, technologically, legally, and environmentally. That's the PISTLE.
Right. So for the students, that's the PISTL that Mr. Conway is speaking on. But somebody made a good point, because if we're saying that people who are stealing because they don't get a job, how come Brutus is charged for 261 crimes, including stealing $60 million? So don't fall for this um, easy explanation. It is not easy and simple as some people want us to believe. Now let me move on to the next subject. As I indicated, you left here on Monday afternoon. We had a class Monday afternoon because I had court Monday morning. And then you left with the intention of continuing some of the subjects like the GRA failure to seize vehicle and all that. But then last night, things are happening so rapidly. Last night, we heard that Gali Khan, hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, held over murder of his ex-paramour last night. Hear what the story say. He's hospitalized. And this is published in today's Stabrook News. Hospitalized with reported self-inflicted wound. Hear what it says. Police are investigating the murder of 30-year-old Marisa Beat, an employee of the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. Our ex-paramour, well-known security company operator, Gali Khan, is a prime suspect. He was hospitalized last night from a reported self-inflicted wound. The incident occurred at Beat Lot 703, the resident at somewhere across the river, about 6:15, between 6:15 and 7 yesterday. They think the place name Beat Rich Dorsey. I never heard about that place, even though it was command over there. Maybe it has another name. Between 6:15 and 7 p.m. yesterday, Khan, a security officer with Integrated Security Service, is currently hospitalized at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation in serious condition with a gunshot wound to his head. He remains under police guard. According to initial police reports, Beat and Khan had been involved in a romantic relationship for the past 2 years, which had recently ended due to an unspecified misunderstanding. At approximately 4:15 p.m., Khan reportedly called Beat, stating he wished to speak with her. Beat was at home with her 62-year-old mother, Jennifer Vaughn, at the time. Despite her mother's reported reservations, Beat allowed Khan into the house. Vaughn told investigators she retreated to the back of the house to provide them with privacy. Sometime later, she heard her daughter cry out, "Mommy!" immediately followed by a loud explosion suspected to be a gunshot. Rushing back to the living room, Vaughn recounted the horrific scene. Her daughter slumped on the ground, bleeding from the head, with Khan standing over her, holding what appeared to be a handgun. Vaughn stated she confronted Khan and grabbed onto him, at which point he allegedly fired another shot in an unknown direction before pushing her to the floor. She stated that she then witnessed Khan turn the weapon on himself, firing a single shot into his head. Public security citizens rushed Beat and Khan, both unconscious, to the West Demerara Public Hospital. Beat succumbed to her injuries at the hospital, and Khan was stabilized and subsequently transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, where he's undergoing emergency surgery. He was undergoing emergency surgery last evening. Police examined Beat's body, noted a single bullet wound about the right eye. Her body has been transported to the Ezekiel Funeral Home home to await a postmortem examination. Crime scene investigators recovered a firearm along with 3 live rounds of ammunition at the residence. Following an appeal, they tell you about Khan now. Following an appeal, Khan was in September 2023 resentenced in the United States to a term of 18 months, almost 2 years after he was initially sentenced to 9 years in prison for drug trafficking and bail jumping. Then they said the judge, they tell you it was the same month that he was sentenced, and Khan, through his lawyer, appealed his sentence on numerous grounds. And they say in September 2023, the judges upheld the appeal, and then he was deported to Guyana. Got a lot of things to unpack here. Man is a deportee, convicted with drugs. The man, let me, because if you remember, let me give you a background what I know, because I did some research. This man jumped bail, let's say, found himself in Guyana. Guyana is living in the US, charged, sentenced with drug trafficking. He jumped bail, he ended up in Guyana. During the 2020 elections and the problems there immediately thereafter, this same man was big with the PPP as an observer and all sort of thing, Gali Khan, and then suddenly he self-deported. Suddenly, we understand that he I did the research. He self-deported meaning he picked up on, even though he was wanted in the States, he jumped on a plane and he traveled, where he was promptly arrested by the federal authorities. He went to court and they said he got a sentence reduced to 18 months. And by the time the decision was handed down, he had already served that time. So he was deported to Guyana. So the man deported to Guyana, following a drug conviction. The man has a firearm. The man has a licensed firearm. That is what it is. Well, I'm assuming it's licensed because they're telling you the firearm was unlicensed. He has a licensed firearm. He is involved in the security industry. Come on, you can't make these things up. You can't make these things up. The man, a drug convict, convicted with drug, is deported to Guyana. He gets a license, or he carries a firearm. I don't know if it's a company, a security company firearm or his personal firearm, but he's allowed to carry a firearm. Because they didn't say that in this report, that this firearm is unlicensed. So one has to assume that he's a licensed firearm owner. Licensed firearm owner. And the man involved in security. The man is involved in security. And this report that I just read from Stabrook News contains a lot of misinformation. Because I saw the video, I don't know how many of you would have seen it. This man was sitting on the ground asking for water. He wasn't unconscious or anything like that. So when they tell us that the man, he was taken and he went to the hospital, yeah, he must have been taken to the hospital. But he was there, he walked. I saw him walking, and the question is asked, if this man shoot himself in the head and wanted to die, how come he was sitting there calling on the people who were there with him for water? And then I saw the thing, he had on a kind of a reddish time, a jersey or a short, walking there, and taking him. I guess the police were taking him then to the hospital or wherever. That is what, and they tell you that recover gun. This man is alleged to have fired at least at a minimum 2 rounds. At a minimum 2 rounds. What then recover empty casings too? Did they not recover the people that said the people examining beat, they noted a single bullet wound above her right eye. And then crime scene investigators recovered a firearm. Well, they said along with 3 live rounds of ammunition at the scene. 3 live rounds of ammunition. So I suspect that's what would have been in the magazine of the firearm, assuming it's a pistol. But what happened to empty casings? What happened to empty casings? Well, they're going to tell you that they didn't give all the releases and so on. This is just a partial thing or the release and so on. But tell you, we got to analyze these things. But I continue to ask the question, how was this man allowed to carry a firearm? A man who is convicted in the U.S. of drugs, a man who is deported after serving his sentence, come to Guyana. How is he involved in the private security sector? These are questions to be asked and answered. How is that so? And then you have legitimate people that taking away their guns, and some people would tell you they can't even get, even though they have justification for firearms, they can't get firearms. They cannot get. And those who are inclined to get, Jackie Opel got to visit. You got to pay in order to get firearm. And this man, again, I see, a drug convict, a deportee, and they know, they know, because I remember when the man self-deported, it was a big thing in the media. Big thing in the media. And it was carried extensively in the media. Extensively. And the man get gone. The man there with security company. The man, for all you know, the man is a supernumerary constable and all that. For all you know, because for you to be involved in the security industry, they have to go through a proper clear check, background check and all of that. Background check. You can't, even if you're an ordinary security guard, you're not going to be a supernumerary constable and be permitted to carry a firearm. At least you should not be if you have a criminal record. This man has a criminal record, and that is what you have. Let me bring him his account. First of all, before I have to express condolences to the relatives, friends, and of this young lady who was murdered by this man. Who was murdered? Condolences to them. Let me bring in CC. CC, a deportee, a convicted deportee. This is not a man who committed some immigration violation. This is a man who drug runnings, jail in the US, 9 years in the first instance, reduced to things, service time, deported to Ghana. The man got gone. The man involved in the private security sector. Explain that to me, man.
Well, I really can't explain it to it, but under, they say he involved, security. He's a security operator, and according to Section 6(1) of the Private Security Service Act 2009, this man cannot qualify to perform those duties. There's there's a bar in relation to Section 6(1). I don't have time to go through and read all the areas there, but definitely I don't know how he's involved in security. More so if he get a firearm license. But then again, 1.5. And if you go to Shiv Chandrapal Drive, you go to Young Street, a house in Rob Street, Carmichael Street, a building northwest of the Brickdown Police Station, and if Jackie Opel come into play, you'll get coverage, you get license. But it's a breach of the act, complete breach of the act, where a person like them is supposed to get nothing. Perhaps they could get a button if they want to. When I be involved in security operations.
Well, I love. Let me tell you this. I am being told by a usually reliable source that this same Gali Khan, this man who killed his ex-paramour or whatever last night, who is now, the man is the vice president of GAPSO. GAPSO is the Guyana Association of Private Security Organizations. He's a close friend of a certain advisor. Let me repeat that. You see how things have come in this place? It has been alleged, let me use my language carefully. It has been alleged that Gali Khan, this deportee, who was convicted in the US for drugs, deported to Guyana, is currently the vice president of GAPSO, which is the Guyana Association of Private Security Organizations, and is a close friend of a certain advisor, and he is a licensed firearm owner. That is what the information I am getting. That is you want to talk, the white crime and so on and all sort of thing going on in the place. That is why I'm saying we started off with these two people who were killed. Yeah, they died. Look at it deeper. You have other criminals are involved in all types of skullduggery, and it is being condoned, because I can't understand for the life of me how this man, give me his background, convicted for, not accused, the vice president is there and accused people who have not been convicted of any crime. They take them a criminal. But this is a man who is convicted, who is deported to Guyana. First of all, he fled the jurisdiction of the US and he went to Guyana. He was involved closely with the PPP and the last election campaign in 2020. He was an observer and all of that. He was in the news. And then suddenly we hear he self-deport. Just like how Barry Dataram, Remember Barry Datteram self-deport, a man who was wanted in the States and then jumped on a plane and traveled to the States, and the man get sentenced to time served and released, must he stay like a canary. The fact that Gali Khan too, when there, other 9 years, reduced to 18 months, he must have sang as well. We have a lot of singers, Percy Sledge, Vibes Cartel, a lot of singers in the house. Mighty Sparrow, all of these people, they're singing. They're singing. But the man, as I understand, I'll never hear them come out and say this is not so. How can this man be involved in the private security sector to the point where he's the vice president of the umbrella organization of these private security? The man is a vice president of the umbrella organization, Guyana Association of Private Security Organizations. As I said, but because he's a close friend of a certain advisor. And the man is a licensed firearm owner. Licensed firearm owner. Food for thought. Food for thought. And they're talking about corruption. They're talking about the who corrupt, they know who corrupt, they know who gets sanctioned. They don't know these things. They don't know these things. The man that right there in the thick of thing, private security. Senior man in the private security organization. Right? Let me move on. More gonna come out from that. More will come out from that. But this thing what I said, I'm making the point, based on what I saw last night, can't be no serious injury. The man sat there asking for water, and I'm sure if you Google it or you go to YouTube, you're gonna find it, right? People making comments, and then he got up and walked in his own steam. They were taking him. I suspect they were never arresting him. He looked like he was handcuffed at the time. It would appear so that he was handcuffed. So a lot of things that we got to look at, man. A lot of things we have to look at. Now let me move on. Before I got to Linden, one thing I have to tell you. Yesterday afternoon, the news broke that Ashuddin Mohammed he was arrested by the police. And we are going to it in more detail later when the thing got clarified. Taken to Rivell police station, where the allegation was made by the man who was caught flying the drone over his premises, that at the time when he was on Sunday, when he was detained by the police, that he's claiming that Ashuddin threatened him or something like that, pulled firearm on him and all that. Yeah, you want to see how that will go, because when that incident unfolded, it was live on TV, on social media. It was live on social media. I looked at it. It is said that the young man, once he was caught with this illegal operation there, because the law is clear, or the regulations, whatever they call it, is clear. You can't fly no drone over somebody's house without receiving their permission. So he was there doing that, and the images captured on that by that drone, the images were streamed on Guyana Daily News, which is controlled by the Sheriff Company, which the says Sheriff Company is owned and controlled by Amir Ahmad, right? So there's a link there. And let me tell you this. I say, I understand that after he made the report, Mohammed was invited to the station and he turned up. I don't know if when he turned up, they arrested him, but he turned up. So it's a case, nobody went to his house or went to his home and arrested and took him there. Apparently, he was called and told they wanted him in the station. He went to the station. Understand, there might have been a confrontation, meaning that the person would have been asked to repeat. And of course, he denied. And I understand from reliable source that he was sent away on his, Muhammad, Ashuddin Mohammed was sent away on his own recognizance. So if we not to lodge no bail or sworn to tell you, go on, when we're ready for you, we're going to call you. I understand that is what transpired. Well, here, this part, before I begin, Mr. Conway, following the drone fiasco on Sunday, remember that the Saturday was GRA at Mohammed's house, and then Sunday was the man caught with the drone, and he locked up himself in a car for over an hour, they say, during which time he was destroying the evidence, the cards, the memory card, with capturing the image, he destroyed her. Then he eventually came out. I recall seeing a release from the Sheriff Company disassociated themselves from this man. They disassociated, say, yeah, working with them. They disassociated themselves with him. Last night, outside Rivell Police Station, when Amir Khan was confronted by Francis Michael Bailey, the B-man, He said that he was there because of his employer, the same man who had disowned was there, the police, and he was looking into the interests of his employer. This is a man who was not arrested by the police, you know. The man is said to have made a report to the police. And the boss man for this company was so interested that he turned up there with a whole set 3 or 4 vehicles, marked sheriff, clearly marked sheriff, that turned up at Granville Police Station. And he's saying that he only went there because he's looking into the interests of his employer. And the employer that he denied knowing just a few days before. And then he was saying, I'm going to talk about it more. He was saying too that he was being video recorded. He's outside the police station on the road in a public space being recorded, and he telling the man that the man should not record him because he did not give permission he did not seek permission to record him. But let me say this. Let me say this. Whether you're a politician, whoever you are, once you are in a public place, a public space, nobody don't want us to have permission to record you. You're not in any private, you're not in your home, which is a different thing. You are on the public road in this case. You are outside the police compound. Even if you are inside the police compound, nobody got to get permission to record you. You're in a public place. You are in a public place. And then they jump on you and talk to his lawyer. So what? They always use us to try to get people afraid and so on. I'm going to speak to your lawyer. That's your right to speak to your lawyer. But let me bring Mr. Conway to say what he has to say on this. I get in, you're trying to get a World Cup over these things, with all this nonsense, what people talking, using their political connections. Because this is the same man, Amir Ahmad, who is stated, and I say alleged, because it can wrote in a statement that this is the man who gave him $8.5 million towards Buta's, to take care of Buta's wedding in November, I think it was, of 2023. This is the same man. And as we said before, I'm going to say it again, that when you can give the police the type of money, the commissioner of police, at the time he was acting, commissioner of police, $8.5 million towards the wedding, an act which the vice president said is reprehensible, then the man would have bought immunity. He can't do nothing wrong in Guyana. He cannot do anything wrong in Guyana. Let me bring in CC. CC, what are your views on this whole thing here, man?
Before I get on to that, let me just backtrack a bit, because somebody sent me a WhatsApp just now, say I'm bluffing when I talk that under section 6.1, the person not really eligible for license. And they say I'm bluffing, I must quote. And there section 6.1a to E, but I'm only going to quote one. And here was he said, convicted by a competent court in Guyana or elsewhere for an offense and sentenced to imprisonment for no less than 2 years. Full stop. There are many more. Who want to think? Just read section 6.1 of the Private Security Act. And I saw what played out. I watched with keen interest what played out outside of the police station at Rumvelt. And I saw the man who says he's the owner of Sheriff Security. He was there. They had exchanged of words with Mohammed. I think Mohammed was very, very, very cool and calm. And he's there looking after the interests of his employee. This employee is so important, looking after the interests of the employee. Who said that Mohammed did attempt to kidnap the employee and threaten him with a gun. I've been watching the videos. I've been watching the footage. I didn't see anything like that. It was widespread, I didn't see anything like that. But here he's looking after the interests. And then he's telling people, don't videotape me. Don't put me on tape because I didn't give permission. But this man didn't get a permission from Mohammed, but he used a drone. He used a drone to take out photographs of the residents of Mohammed. So he could use, his employee could use a drone to do that, but nobody can use no cell phone, anything to videotaping, And the whole thing, what's the interest? That he and all posse got to be there to look at the interests of his employee who was not arrested, who is a complainant in the matter, and is there something to hide? Is there something that we don't know about? Is there something criminal that we know about? That he got to be there and spend a whole long time from beginning to end, just there to look after the interests of his employee who they're alleging that the Mohammeds attempted to kidnap and to shoot him when we didn't see anything to that effect. Something is not meshing up there. Something is not meshing up there for the man who's in charge of, who said he's in charge. He's the owner of sheriff security. There are much more hidden things, that maybe come out later on.
Let me say this before I move off of that subject. Again, for the police, a man came to the station and he made a report, whatever the report is. In this case, he might have reported that a man pulled gun for me, a man threatened me, and all them type of thing. Folks, even before you get to the stage where you're going to invite this man to the station, you have to take statements. Who else would have seen this? Take a statement from the man who's making the report. Find out who else was there. And when you realize that the same incident was broadcast on social media, you have to treat very, very carefully and cautiously, even before you invite the Mohammed to the. What are you inviting him there for? What are you inviting him there for? Spend a whole set of time and maybe phone call making and to say what they must do and all this type of thing. Wrong police action. The report is made. Entertain the report. Take a report, make an occurrence. Once you make the occurrence, you put him to sit or you ask him to provide you with a detailed statement. Because you don't have to necessarily take the statement from him, but ask him to provide you with a statement. Ask questions. Who else was there? Try to investigate. And when you establish prima facie, yeah, this thing might have occurred, then you invite the person to come so that you can confront him with some facts. But for the mere Mark turned up to the station and said, this man threatened me and this man, and then you inviting the man to go to the station, wrong police work. And whoever would have instructed, because I believe the people at the station would have been instructed to get the man, to get Mohammed. They would, whoever instructed, this is clear political. I don't care what they say. Despite the statement from people like the president and the vice president and Nandalal, this is political. This is political. All that is going on, all that is going on now with the Mohammeds, political. And we're going to talk more about it. We're going to talk more. Time might not permit us this morning to go through it in any great detail, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the police action. Again, I say a report is made, and not only in this case, understand how you should be operating as professional policemen. A report is made. You don't turn away people. You don't tell them go to some other station. You entertain the report. Most times it is entertained in the occurrence book. You make an occurrence. Once you do that, then you have to find out, get a statement from the person who is making the report. We talked about it when the lady assaulted the man in Barbies. She make a report, they're going to arrest the man. Then you get a statement. And then later on, when they do a little preliminary investigation, they saw that she's the one who assaulted the man first. And then they release the man. Right? You got to do a proper preliminary stuff. It's not a case where somebody is lying there bleeding or somewhere you need to take a different course of action. Right? This is a case where somebody come and report that they were threatened a few days ago, not immediately. They're reporting on Tuesday that they were threatened on Sunday. So the first question they want to know why they take so long to come and make the report. And as he said, this man turned up. The same Amir Ahmad, who disassociated the sheriff company from this drone operator. Sunday the release was given. This man, or Monday, no association with them. But suddenly now, this man is an employee of this company, and he's looking into the interests of his employee. That's last night. You see, that's when you lie, you gotta get good memory, When you lie, You got to get good memory. And that is exactly, they will lie, they ain't get memory. And if you follow them closely, they contradict themselves. And that is what we need to do, to point out these contradictions to you. The man disowned the man Saturday, Sunday or Monday, disowned this man. And all of a sudden now, he's there with an entourage. 3 or 4 vehicles and so on is there to look into the interests of his employee. Can't beat these things. Yeah, continue to share because we're going to talk now about Linden. So as we're going to talk now about Linden, I encourage you to share the live. Share the live because you will be I'm sure you're going to find this part very, very interesting. You're going to find it very, very interesting. Share the live. Share the live. Call a friend, tell a friend. Everybody should share to at least 2-3 and let me get the numbers up so that people can benefit from this discussion that is to follow. Again, I see that we have a little unstable internet, but there, we can make it through. We are going to make it through. Share the live. Share the live. Now, as I've said, this place that they call Guyana is not an easy place. And we have been telling you that now that elections are due sometime this year, a lot of craziness will take place. A lot of craziness. We're telling you, my personal concern is that things are going to happen and the police that you have at all levels are not adequately trained to respond in a professional manner to these things. That is my view. From experience and from what I'm seeing, I am worried. And this was borne out yesterday. But before I go to that, I should have told you something about the same Galican man. Yeah, forgive me. We're jumping around. But let me go back quickly to Galican. There was a release some time ago. Hear what it says. This morning, this is an old thing. So this morning, I mean today, representative of the Guyana Association of Private Security Organizations, GAPSO, met with the Honorable Minister of Labor, Joseph Hamilton, well, the same Pillory Joe that we talk about, to discuss the current state of the country's workers' rights and labor laws within the private security industry. The meeting was held at the ministry's breakdown, at the ministry's breakdown office, focused on potential collaboration areas. That's what I write. Potential collaboration areas through training programs and exploring opportunities for enhancing the protection of workers' rights and ensuring compliance with labor laws. Here who were the people at the meeting representing GAPSO. The GAPSO team comprised President Christopher Thompson, Secretary Gali Khan, Public Relations Officer Ms. Shemaine Pilgrim, Executive Member Mr. Kiran Suklal, Mr. Clement Beard, and Mr. O'Malley Kendall. So you get evidence. We tell you, we just bring the thing to you know. Gali Khan was part of the GAPSO representatives to visit Minister of Labor, Joseph Pillory Joe Hamilton. Sometime, I can tell you about the next program when this meeting actually occurred. So yeah, the man was the executive member, and that would have been since he was deported. Executive member of GAPSO. Executive member, a deportee, drug convict, deported to Ghana, and he's an executive member of the Guyana Association of Private Security Services. You think it's easy in this place? You think, and then you're going to look, and you're going to lick down, I'm too little, but we're going to kill you. They deserve to die because they're robbing people. But they got a lot of criminals just up fancy and walking around the place. Not for them even in political offices and other offices. Not for them. Many of them are there, but them and criminals. Now, let me go through this thing at Linden. We got about an hour more to discuss it. I sure I might need even more than an hour. Now, yesterday, well, not yesterday. Let me start from the night before. I have some notes. I don't want to miss anything. The Linden incident, right? Where Ronaldo Peters, Monday night, Ronaldo Peters was killed. Let me read what they say. Let me read what they say. They say, Linden wanted man fatally shot by cop. Well, I have a problem with that headline. This is Stabrook News yesterday. Linden wanted man. Now, how is he a wanted man? How is he a wanted man? And here, what I mean, that's not even working on. Here what they want, they think say a wanted man is a person or is a fugitive from justice. Or a fugitive from justice, also known as a wanted person, can be a person who is either convicted or accused of a crime or and hiding from law enforcement in the country or taking refuge in a different country in order to avoid arrest. That is a wanted man. The fact that a report might have been made about this man and the police wanted to question him, not really a wanted man. He's not really a wanted man. So we understand this thing. So when I saw this headline yesterday in Starbucks News, I was upset, right? Wanted man. Wanted man. The man's accused, according to what it said. I'm going to read the story, and then we're going to discuss it a little later, right? Here what they say. Linden was rocked last evening by the fatal shooting of a wanted man, Ronaldo Peters, by the police. The police in a release said that yesterday around 17:30 hours, a police sergeant from Wismar Police Station reported that he received information that Ronaldo Peters, male mixed race, aged 26 years, who is wanted for questioning in relation to a report of an alleged rape of a child under 16, which occurred sometime between the 1st of December 2024 and the 31st of January 2025, was seen at Shabba Bar in 1 Mile, Wismar, Linden. As a result, the sergeant and a party of ranks went to that location. The sergeant was armed with a 9mm service pistol, and the other ranks armed with .38 service revolvers. These ranks were fully dressed in uniform. On arrival at 1 Mile, Wismar, Ronaldo Peters was seen at Shabba Shop. Upon seeing the ranks, Ronaldo Peters began to run and attempted to jump a nearby fence. It is further alleged by the sergeant that he managed to pull off Ronaldo Peters from the fence, and in the process of subduing him, his service pistol, which was in his right hand, went off, and Peters was hit. He was immediately escorted to the Mackenzie Public Hospital. However, he succumbed while receiving treatment. Peters' body was examined, and one circular wound was seen on the right side of his lower abdomen. The body was escorted to the pensioners' mortuary awaiting postmortem examination. Investigations are ongoing. Assistant Commissioner of Region 10, Simon, confirmed the shooting with Starbucks News last night and stated that more details would be provided as he was trying to control the issue at the set time. A cousin of Peter spoke to Starbucks News, stated that the police just pulled up in a black Letem bus today without any police clothes or anything. The young man was sitting outside the bar next to 1 Mile shop opposite the nursery school. They just shot him and just put him in the vehicle. They circled around the school and the area while he was still wounded. And by the time they reached the hospital, he already dead. That's what the man said. But here what the police report said. They turned up, they were dressed in uniform. And I tell you all, the camera don't blink. So shortly after, this is what they released. Shortly after that, I think they released it very Monday night, a video circulated. Doesn't have song, a video circulated. Contradicting what the police reported. The bus, we saw the bus pull up, a black bus pull up. Yeah, the young man ran. They saw a man in a whitish t-shirt. Not no uniform, but they claim that the people were all just in uniform. Ran after this man. And shortly after, as I said, the video and song, in less than about 30 seconds or so after, the same man in the white t-shirt is seen dragging this man, dragging like an animal out on the road. Where is the humanity? And they come with this nonsense. And then one of their surrogates, the thing from Germany, want to blame the people on the ground for this release because the surrogate wrote to say, well, they're giving false information. And let me tell you this, I was a commander. And I used to tell them, when any report is made, right, I know that the police just lie. They're trying to cover up. So as a commander, when the report is made, I just listen to them carefully and analyze. I am going public with nothing. There was an incident in Barbies. I would never forget that when I was commander there. A young man was shot and killed somewhere at Hampshire. on the quarantine. And they reported to me that the man attacked the police with a bottle. The man was taken to, he was coming from court, was being escorted from court, Albion Court, I think. And they claimed that this man attacked them with a bottle and he was shot and he was killed. The newspaper from New Amsterdam called me about the same matter. And I told the guy, I got to call his name, but I had a fairly good relationship with them. I said, this is what is being reported by the police. We have not investigated to verify that is so or not. Then I called them to find out. Because the man gave me certain information. And I called them and they lied. They said, no, the information the man gave me, the man said, Commander, did they tell you that at the time of the shooting, this man was handcuffed? I said, no, let me find out. When I called them, they lied. They said, no, the man wasn't handcuffed. I called back the guy. And he said, can I come to see you now? I said, yes. The man came to see me in my office at New Amsterdam, and he brought pictures of the man lying in the Port Morant mortuary with the handcuff on. This same man with the shoot. Lying there with the handcuff on. And what transpired is that the man was indeed shot. The man had on the handcuff. They did not have a key to the handcuff at the time. So in the panic, they carried the man to the mortuary just like that, or to the hospital, and then he, just like that, and somebody, you know, these cameras now, every phone you have a camera, take all these things. I am saying that the training is my training, because when I went to the staff college, I got training how to interact with the media and to give press release from the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, conducted interview and training at the staff college in the UK. When I went to the FBI Academy, CNN, if you look at CNN, I know if he's still there, Pierre Thomas is the man who did presentation to us. And we were told, and I did a course at the FBI, how to interact, senior officers interacting with the media, right? And we were learned, I was told, you're not denying, you're not jumping out and not avoiding speaking to the media. But in an incident and an occasion like that, you're saying what is known. Yes, there was a shooting, because you would have known that. Yes, the young man has died. You know that. And whatever is known, but you can't report because the police tell you that they were all in uniform and the man run. The thing turned out the place and he had no fence, where this man was alleged to have been jumping to escape. And then to crown it off all day, saying that this man, the sergeant claiming that he tried to drag this man off this fence. The gun being in the right hand. So therefore, is the one hand he dragging this man off the fence with, if the gun is in the right hand. And the gun went off accidentally. Bullshit. Guns don't go off accidentally. I used to be a firearm instructor. Perhaps people still regard me as a firearm instructor. I don't know what, this is a pistol. What pistol he had? Was it a pistol with a safety catch? If it was a pistol with a safety catch, why was the safety catch off? If it was a pistol without a safety catch, because you know the Glocks, and this is not telling tales out of school, not revealing anything confidential. Glocks don't have a safety catch, but Glocks are very, very safe. The mechanism to fire that pistol is two things you have to actually press. It is very, very safe. It can't go off accidentally. So I don't know, your finger had to be on the trigger and engage the safety plus the trigger for it to go off if it was a Glock. If it has any, most other pistols carry external safety device. Most other pistols carry external safety device, which in most cases is on the left side of the pistol activated by the thumb if you are properly trained. How come this gun can go off accidentally? They're calling for investigation. We're going to deal with all of that. But all of these are things they have to look into. So the police came out with this mendacious statement that this man, first of all, wanted man. That is what they published in the thing, wanted man. And the boy's aunt, in an interview, admitted that the police, what the lady is saying, and I believe her, that some rank from the police station called her sometime and asked her for this boy. They call her wrong name first. If this boy is her nephew or his or family. And she corrected them, said, it's not whatever name they call. This is the name. So he must bring you in tomorrow or something. They say, I got to go to work. I can't bring him there. Sometime after, She called the name of a female rank who called and said, look, the boy must come to the station. So you can't come out and say that this man wanted. They were not actively hunting this man. They asked the man to be brought in by his aunt. And then when the aunt said that she had to work, she couldn't bring him in. Later on, they said, well, look, tell him to come in to the police station. So obviously it wasn't anything, they didn't take it as being serious. And then before I bring him Mr. Conway, let me make this point. Because then they said that the man is wanted for questioning in relation to a report allegation of a rape of a child under 16. A rape of a child committed under 16. I see people making comments and so on. But the law is, once the person is below 60, they cannot give consent. So it might very well be, when they talk about rape, it might not be a case where the man pulls in some bush and violated her. It might be a case where she's underage and therefore cannot legally give consent. It's a presumption of law that a female under 16 years cannot give consent for sex. Let me understand this thing clearly. Men who are here, let me understand it. That is a presumption of law. And presumptions of law are irrebuttable. You can't come and say, well, yeah, she did tell me, she did offer me a little bit. No. The law is clear. Once she is under 16, and this is something that was changed a few years back, you know, because the law then, a few years back, was a female under 13. And then we had this situation with the businessman from Camp Street. I'm in the mood today. I shall share the life. I'm in the mood. The businessman from Camp Street had a relationship with a young girl who was about 14 or something like that. I remember well some of the characters who were involved, the current Minister of Education and all them things for past law. And then the law was amended to 16 years old. I was a commander then, and I was involved in that matter. I would never, ever forget that matter. Never forget. The judge in that thing was B.S. Rai, who called me as a commander when this young girl was put into police custody for over the weekend. She was kept in police custody over the weekend. And commander, she's your responsibility. You talk these things. I had to call some of the women in the division. I say, this woman there, this girl got to go at East Independence Police Station. Y'all make sure that nothing can happen to she. Provide you with all that you needed. And of course, I had the type of relationship with my staff. All them go on there. Make sure Monday morning I say relief when she was taken back to the judge intact. Nothing can happen to she over the weekend. I know these things that I'm going to talk about them is experience. So for those of you jumping around, because I heard on the live yesterday some comment being made about the young lady who was involved and all of that. But once she's underage, a matter like that, you investigate. One of the first things you need is the birth certificate. As an investigator, you got to get a birth certificate. So, a lot of things. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, man. I take a little bit in there. Let me bring in CC. CC.
You got to be careful, When you say you were involved in the matter, you got to be careful. I don't know what kind of involvement you're talking about.
The judge tell me, the judge called me, sent for the commander, and said, Commander, this matter is going to be adjourned until Monday. In the meanwhile, this young lady is remanded into the police custody, and I want you to make sure that nothing happens to her over the weekend. I said, thank you. Yeah, so yes, Your Honor. And then I had to put mechanisms in place. I was commander A division at the time. The businessman is a businessman from Camp Street. Yes, CC, go ahead.
All right. I read the mendacity that the police put out there. Lies, and more lies. And I would have thought, well, like you, Paul, we have training, We just with the FBI, I did effective writing, and I had CNM. I had them we had them with me, And the thing is, that reports like that, a policeman shot and killed somebody. Before you put up any report, the thing is that you get all the players together, the shooter and everybody, you gotta get them together and get statement from them. Let me hear your story, interview them maybe before you put out things. You don't go while and just put up things. That is a serious matter. You're dealing with that. And as you mentioned, there's it. minibus. The people say Lethem minibus. The sergeant was stationed at Lethem some time ago. He was at Linden before, and sergeant due to misbehavior, they sent it to Lethem. Then they brought him back to a Lethem vehicle, and you saw it clearly in civilian clothing with a weapon in his hand, and it happened so swiftly, running the place, run back, and then they said they were dressed in uniform. Goodness gracious, and hold him with one and drag him like an animal. The cameras don't lie. The cameras don't lie. You know, and then they say he's a wanted man. Nottingham put out. You read the definition for wanted man. It is so much of lies that start with a basis of lying, and when they started being, they gotta tell more lies to cover up those lies. It was, for me, it was cold-blooded murder. Nothing but cold-blooded murder. And I want to go back and read, just bear me, when you may fire. And here's it: when you may fire, Police Act number was 33 of 69. When you are attacked and you apprehend serious danger to your person and are unable to defend yourself by any other means, when the property you are ordered to defend is attacked and you are unable to safeguard it by any other means, when an attack is made to rescue persons in lawful custody, when anyone is found committing or about to commit any felony, burglary, shopkeeping, shop breaking, house breaking, arson, or larceny, and do not desist after warning and cannot be deterred or arrested by any other means, to prevent a police station or police post from being run when so ordered by a superior in rank. These are the guiding principles: when you must use your firearms, when you must shoot. In our days, you used to get it in your pocketbook, and when you're going to uplift a firearm, you have to read it. And there's an entry in the diary, Force Order number 33 of 69. When you may fire, read and explain to the person, and he said that he understands the nature of the document and he got signed to it. So you put him on his guard. You can't go and do nonsense. These are the reasons when you may fire. When you may fire, these are the reasons. And then another thing in terms of the use of firearm is about the thing. Well, Paul, you're an expert in that. But in terms of the use of firearm, I say the use of firearm must be resorted to only when other means are found ineffective to deal with the situation. The degree of fire use should not be more than necessary to deal effectively with the situation. Whenever possible, warning must be given before use of firearm. When it has been decided to open fire, it must be borne in mind that the course of action should be preventative and not punitive. If it becomes necessary to open fire, such firearm will be directed at the target and not over his head. And care must be taken to ensure, as far as possible, that innocent persons are not hit. Fire must cease immediately after the desired effect has been accomplished. Firearm will not be discharged on a fugitive offender. Those are the guidelines, the principles in relation to your use of firearm, when you may fire, and the principles. What the sergeant did there, when I look at it, there was nothing there that could justify the use of the firearm. And they lying so much, put a man in a bus, and then they gone their own way. Persons who were there reached the hospital long before them. It's a shocking case. And there's a sergeant jumping out of a minibus and running being somebody, and then in no time he's shot and he's dragged away, dashed into a minibus, and then dumped in a hospital. It's anyway. We'll do more in terms of when you may fire and the use of firearm as we discuss the incident at Linden.
Right. Thank you for that. Let me move on, because I have this thing in stages. One of the first things we have to remember, as we said, this is deja vu. Y'all recall in 2018, 2012. 2012. It was? Yeah, 2012. July the 19th, 2012. 3 men at Linden were killed. One would have thought that the police would have learned from that because the commander then was this man who is the commissioner now. Clifton Ikin was the commander. They had a big inquiry where they go and they lie again, right? The 3 men who were killed, Alan Lewis, Ron Somerset, and Shemroy Boye. Sissy, can you hear me? Can you folks hear me now? Sissy, you hearing me? I'm trying to get back in, but apparently I'm not being heard. You hearing me? People said they're hearing me. They're hearing me now. So just confirm that you can hear me now, students. Just confirm. We had some technical issues. We hear you. We hear you. Right. So all right, good. Sorry about that. We had some they said they're hearing me clearly. We had some technical issues. I don't think Mr. Conway is hearing me. So let me call him and tell him to log back in. Let me call him and tell him to log back in. Let me. I back in, So I'm gonna send back a new link. I'm gonna sending a new link to you. Sending a new link to you. So just come out and come back in. You lose, right? Right, folks. Apologies, technical issues. Let me just go back into my setting and make sure everything is correct. Again, just let me know that you can hear me. And I'm waiting on my colleague, Mr. Conway. And we are going to attempt, I think he's back in now. PC, can you hear me? Are you hearing me? I guess he can't hear me. But I'm going to continue. Because the students are saying they're hearing me loud and clear. Now, we were at the point where I was saying to you, we were dealing with the Linden issue. And I was saying, and I share the live, let them know that we're back in. Let them know that we're back in. I did some technical gymnastics, and we are going to hear. So we're going to continue because we want to make sure that you understand this issue. We're talking about the killing. We were talking about what happened in 2012, where these three men were killed. The current commissioner was the commander. There was an inquiry into that, a commission of inquiry, and I think the results weren't as satisfactory as they should have been, because people went to that inquiry and lied, and nothing happened to them. Nothing happened to them. So, it's sad to know. It's sad to know that something again like this can happen in the same town of Linden. The police shot and killed this man Monday night. From what we have said, it could not justify shooting and killing this man under those circumstances, even though they wanted to paint a picture that this man was a wanted man. A wanted man. Being wanted by the police for questioning the matter and being a wanted man, which suggests that the man was a fugitive, is totally different, because he was there in the community all along. It doesn't appear he was making any attempt to escape the police. And by the police own action, because based on what they said, they never went looking for him. They called his aunt and said, look, bring him in. And then they told him, let this man come in. So it could not have been a case where they were that anxious to get him. So to come out with this statement that is a wanted man, the headline, that wasn't really upset with the thing. Linden wanted man fatally shot by cop. That is what Starbrook News carried yesterday. That is what they carried yesterday. right? So let me tell you now, as I've said, the corporate communication unit, this propaganda unit from the Ghana Police Force, I think it's time that they give a whole revamp. They have lost all credibility. They come out with these lies, things that are easily proven to be lies. And I believe it's because you have people there who are civilians, at least they had Mark Ramata as a civilian, don't understand these things, never train how to deal with matters like these. So they run out with a release, and then the thing trying to justify, say, well, that is what they pass on. Yeah, that is what the people on the ground might have passed on to them, but you have got to verify certain things before you release it as public statement, as your official public statement. You have got to verify these things. You can't come and the police tell you that and you jump with it, and then video surface shortly after, which totally contradicts what you're saying. Totally contradicts your release. No credibility. No credibility. Somebody said they're not hearing me in the US. Well, people are hearing me. People said they're hearing me. So somebody, Lester, just say he's not hearing me in the US. I suspect you might have to log out and log back in. Log back and log out and log back in, because others are hearing me very clearly to say, right? And I know that the numbers are going up again. So let's hope. Yeah, people are saying loud and clear. So Lester, check your device. People are saying they're hearing me loud and clear. So it's time that there's a revamp of this whole corporate communication unit. So if it is that you're telling me that you want to rebuild your image, the corporate communication, the corporate propaganda unit is not contributing to that rebuilding of the image, because they have totally lost credibility. No one believes what they say. And the problem with that is because you tell so much lie, even when you tell the truth, people are going to doubt you. Even when you speak the truth, people are going to doubt what you are saying. So it is time that do away with the people who are there. Some people are saying too that it's a dark screen. Lester, the same man saying a dark screen. Are you seeing the image, people? Are you seeing me with me fancy Dasha Kikiri and so on? Are you seeing me? If you can see me, let me know so we can advise Lester that is his problem. They're saying they're hearing me loud and clear, but Lester is now saying he has a dark screen and he's not seeing me. So you might want to check that too. People are seeing me, Lester. So when you can't hear and you're not seeing, so something is wrong. Something is wrong with Lester's device. People say they're seeing and they're hearing me. Go, they're seeing this beautiful face and they're hearing me. But let me continue. So you had the shooting Monday night. I saw the Commander Assistant Commissioner Simon came out. He interacted with the people there. Excellent. He came out and he interacted with the people, trying to calm them, trying to let them know that the matter is going to be thoroughly investigated. Yes, he came out, and that is what was required of the commander. Told them that the Sergeant Kendall is under close arrest, even though they're misusing this term, close arrest. There's no provision in law for a policeman to be placed under close arrest in an homicide investigation. He should be arrested properly. So, well, Patrick, all those who are seeing dark screen, I suggest that you log out and come back into the site. Log out, all those who are seeing dark screen. Refresh. Oh, Lester said he's seeing me now because he refreshed. So others, Patrick, anyone here who is hearing and not seeing me, you need to refresh and you are going to get, because I had to start over the whole broadcast. Right? So yeah. So the commander came out the night, interacted with the people who were there. They were quite justifiably upset. They were angry. A youth in the area, Sabatu said 26 years old, I think, and they say now the man was 21. That is what he's been said. 21 years old, shot and killed by the police in circumstances that could not be justified. To aggravate the situation, the police issued a very mendacious release the night to say basically that the man, well, the accident thing where they talk about, I can't believe that, but the police were dressed in uniform. They were all dressed in, that was not the case. And it has been alleged that they were at some place drinking and they borrowed the owner's minibus. This let them minibus to go. They must have gotten word that this boy is there. They somebody saying blank screen. Look, refresh. I'm saying over refresh, and you're gonna get the image. You're gonna get the broadcast. I apologize for all of that. But let me explain to you further what should about it in night. Because once this shooting took place Monday night, one could have, any intelligent person could have anticipated that you're likely to get unrest the following day. You're likely to get people come out and demonstrate the following day. So there were certain actions that should have been taken the very night. And this action, I'm not talking only at the divisional level, but at the force administration level, because once this incident was reported to the force administration, as it would have, because that's the only way they could have issued a release, right? There are certain things that you have to do. As I said, the commander of the night came out, he interacted with people, which is good, right? There should have been an emergency meeting of the officers within the division and with the involvement of people at headquarters. Because in anticipation of unrest, you can't wait and be reactive. You have got to be proactive. You have got to prepare some order as to how you're going to deal this thing the next day, right? The investigation, let me say, first of all, you would have had to mobilize resources. Remember, you're anticipating this, the man shot and killed. People are worked up since the night. You have to anticipate that you're going to get problems the next day. People are going to come out. They're going to demonstrate. You have to anticipate they're going to block the road. All of these things you have to anticipate. Any sensible commander, commissioner, that is what they would have done. And it would appear that that was not done. Get a meeting, plan, prepare an order as to how you're going to deal with any eventuality the following day. You have to mobilize your resources. So therefore, things like off duty and all of those things would have been canceled. You might want to get assistance from town. Overnight, all of these things should have been put in place. The investigation should have been started the very Monday night. The very Monday night, you're going to start the investigation where you are going to, because remember, you would have had witnesses, the people who are there. Go the very night and try to get statements from them, at least get the names, who saw what transpired. But I heard yesterday now, the superintendent there telling them, well, the people from Itong now come up and do the investigation and all of that. Rubbish. That ought to be started the very night. Get people to go there in the very night and start the investigation. They did not do that. So there's you got to canvass the area the very night again, Monday night. Canvass the area for people who would have seen or would have heard things. You want to know. That is how you do a proper, credible, and a thorough investigation. That is how you do that. The very night too. The very night. You have to take control of the scene where this man was shot. That becomes a crime scene. You have to take nothing like that. It would appear as nothing was done. There was no control. Absolutely no control. It left there just like that. So how are you going to conduct a proper investigation? What happened to the spent shell that was fired from the this gun? Did they go cordon this area, look for the spent shell to see perhaps if there are multiple shells? Because even though the man got one injury, you can assume that there's only one round was fired. That is how you should do at least you should have started Monday night. Monday night. Now let me come to yesterday morning now. I'll try to walk them through because we have sure police can listen. Senior people as well. If they don't listen now, people will tell them. So you had the initial phase Monday night. You come out as the commander did, spoke to the people them and so on. In anticipation, what we call intelligent anticipation of what is likely to happen yesterday morning. You have to mobilize the resources. One of the first things a place like Linden that you would have had to do, from very early, from the very night, you have to deploy some resources at the bridge. The bridge is a key point. You have to identify your KPs and your VPs. That's your key points and your vulnerable points. You have to make sure you have patrols. That's what talk about the mobilization. You got to get patrols. From the time this in the car, you should have got saturation patrols. Meaning, people there all over. Wisma, Linden itself, Mackenzie properly, you have patrols out to identify things. You have to engage with community leaders, identify and engage with community leaders, and ask them to calm the people them and calm the people. One of the problems you have is that investigation. People don't have any confidence that police will do a proper investigation in matters like these. The confidence is not there. So even though you're telling people you're going to do an investigation, they don't believe you. They don't believe you. That is why they say you can take matters into their own hands and come out and make a whole set of noise. That is one of the problems, right? Engage the community leaders. Patrol your main areas. Identify your key points and your vulnerable points. A key point would have had to be the bridge. Had to be the bridge. And you would have had a presence there at the bridge to deter, to detect, and to deal with any thing. Now, you have to, as I said, here, the most important thing yesterday, commanders, police, students, you have had to make sure that instructions were given for you to exercise maximum restraint. Let me go back there. This is people who are coming out there to protest the killing of one of the unjustifiably killing of a member of the community. When you go out, if you go out, and I'm going to deal with that because I even believe they should have gone out in the manner that they did. Maximum restraint got to be the instructions. Don't go and don't shoot, don't aggravate nothing. Maximum restraints. Let me tell you, in 2008, when they had the Lusignan massacre, Leroy Bromell was the commander at Cove and John. I sat in the chair of Deputy Commissioner Operations, and Henry Green was the commissioner. I remember Bromell called me early morning, Saturday morning, and told me of these killings in Lusignan. And shortly after, the emergency meeting was summoned at GDF headquarters. I went there. Gary Best was the chief of staff, commissioner, and some other senior officers who went there. Right? By that time in the morning, the residents came out in their hundreds. Lusignan people came out in their hundreds. They were blocking the road. They were burning tires, and they were very irate, and justifiably so. How many persons were killed, including children, in the very area? And the road blocked. I was the operations man. Henry Green is the commissioner. Henry Green's position is that we should send the riot unit to remove the people from out of the road. I said, not at all. These people are out there venting because of the killing of all the people in the area. Are you telling me you're going to go out there now to use stay smoke and maybe bullets and so on to I tell you, no. That's how those people are not to go out. No police is to go there. What we should do, we should make sure that we try to engage with the people to get them off the road. I suggested then that we get the politicians, because the people who are out were perceived to be PPP supporters. So we said, get the politicians to go into the area and urge them to come off the road, because one of the things I said, let them know that while they're there blocking the road, they're preventing us from going to hunt for these criminals, these murderers. And that is what they did. They went out there and they talked to the people and they got the people off the road. Maximum restraint you have got to exercise. You have got to realize, first of all, assess why are the people there. The people are there and they were justifiably angry. So if they burn a couple tires up on the road and they block the road, why would you want to go now and aggravate them and say you're going to take action to disperse them? That is stupid police action. That is not how it should work. And in the case of Linden yesterday morning, what I saw there, they went out there, people lit fire on the road. What you got to do, you got to monitor. If it's a thoroughfare, there's diversion, you have to divert traffic. The people there, they're cussing and thing. Even when they got to the stage, I saw them, what happened? Police turn up. And I'm going to address that, right? You got to allow the resident to vent their frustration as long as they do not damage property or injure people. Allow them to vent their frustration. One other thing, that you definitely do not want to display or use force, as was the case yesterday. You don't want to display or use force. And let me tell you this. Let me back up to tell you. I had another experience in one of the force in dealing with public disorder. lot of experience. Perhaps the most experienced policeman at the time in dealing with public disorder. Which started some of the major incidents I can recall. October the 5th, 1992, election day. That same day that the PPP report said that the restoration of democracy in Harlem shite that I talk about, I was officer in charge of the tactical services unit, the riot squad, as a young superintendent. And we were on the road to engage those people there. And we engaged them. We used pellets and so on, dispersed the crowd because they were rioting, breaking shops and so on along Regent Street. And it was justified that we should go and get them off. They smoke. We got them off the road. Nobody was killed. No one was killed. Then again in 1997, I was in the thick of things again. Same thing, GCOM. You have to get people out. Nobody killed. Nobody killed. But I was commanding Barbies 2001, I think it was, at Albion. Same thing. Well, one man, one of the protesters was shot and killed at that stage. We don't know up to now. We're not sure who did that. But I'm saying I was not the man on the ground at the time. But I'm saying that when you go there, you have to have a plan, and it requires training. I remember back in 1997, around that time again, I was vilified in the media, and the people who were supporting the PNC because they believe I should not have, as the person in charge of the TSU, I should not have gone there and dispersed the crowd, because let me understand that the crowd was perceived to be mainly PNC supporters. And I said, no, I have a professional job to do, and I went there and I did that job. Yet a particular news outlet was on my case every night, with a particular announcer, a low-cut air female announcer. And I called the editor, who I know well, to a meeting at Brickdam, and I told him, I said, let me tell you something. You have to understand that when the riot unit goes out there, when I take the riot units out there, or anybody else go to the riot unit, we are carrying live ammunition. We have lethal weapons. And the fact that no one was killed is not an accident. That is how it is designed. We're not going there to kill or injure people. We just want them to disperse and to restore order. And he then took a different line thereafter. That man took a different line in reporting, at least a news outlet, reporting thereafter. That is what you have to do. You have to exercise maximum restraint. You have to exercise maximum restraint. You can't go out there to shoot. And then let me say this. As I walk it through, see Mr. Conway is back in the studio now. We're going to bring him in a while. Why did the police went out there? And what I saw there was a collection of ranks. Can't call them disorganized group. They went out there. Think a superintendent was there, them two Keki Coast people. But it is clear they had no leadership, no proper leadership displayed on the ground. So they went out, they stood around, they had shield, see someone like SC, a whole set of people, like they just pulled them together. Some get on helmet, some did not get on helmet, and all of that. And for some, and it was being broadcast live, on Travis Chase and others. For some inexplicable reason, they decided they were going towards the fire. The police decided to advance towards the fire. I don't know why, because there was no evidence of any fire engine to say, well, they advanced to provide a perimeter so that the fire people can put out the fire on the road. It was a small fire at the time. I don't know why they decided to advance towards this fire and towards the people who were protesting. They advanced. I don't know if they're going to explain that. Bottles started to be thrown. Like in Air Force, a one bottle breaking, you can hear the sound of bottles thing. But they're advancing, bottles thing. Then the next thing you know, I hear shots firing. The next thing the video could record is shots firing. And Travis and these people, they're telling you, police shooting, shots are being fired. Shots are being fired. And I say, my Lord, what is going on, Why are they shooting at people, even if the people pelting bottle? You have a doctrine of the use of minimum force. Let me understand it clearly. And these things I'm telling you is not letting tales out of school. Minimum force. There was absolutely no need to be shooting at the people at that stage. None whatsoever. Take it from someone who trained people, who was trained in public order in the UK and in Guyana, who trained people in public order. I lectured in public order. I did the drills in public order for the police ranks, all ranks. I did that. And I saw no need for them to be shooting at the people there and there, even to be advancing towards the crowd. Because these people seem to have been in some side street. I don't know the location, the geography that well, but no car or so has been impeded from. Why are you going to aggravate this situation? When they conduct an investigation, as they say they will do, all of these things have to be taken into consideration. Why were they advancing and then ended up shooting at the people? Why did they end up shooting at the people? I would like for them to explain that. And then Bartles spelled. They show a picture with an officer get injured. They also claim that the senior man who was in charge of the place was injured as well. Which brings to the question, what happened? You're going out there in a situation like that. What happened to the personal protection, the PPE equipment? One would have expected you go in there with your helmet and other equipment to protect yourself. But it has gone out. This is real wild arrangement. And I'm coming back again to say it is lack of training. It is lack of preparation. And as we said, silly season coming up. And one can expect, hope it doesn't happen, similar situation where you have to go and deal with crowd disorder. And you got to be properly trained. It was obvious that the people who were there, including the officer on the ground, had no training to deal with public order, how to deal with issues like that. Who gave instructions to them to shoot? In those circumstances, where no life was threatened, property wasn't threatened, as far as you could have seen on the video. Nothing, but they go and they aggravate the situation, they shoot. They aggravate the situation, they fired, and then one man ended up dead. One man ended up dead. And let me say this too. Let me say this. If we go on, right? What was the objective when they went out there? What instructions would have been given for them when they go out there? What instructions would have been given? You send out people in some kind of semi-riot gear. Because they had shields. Some of them had helmet. Obviously, they had firearm. And to those people who commented and said, well, people should not go out there with firearm. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going out with firearm because you have to anticipate that the situation may escalate. If it escalates, you can't run back to the station and come. But there's a gradual increase in the use of force. We call it the use of minimum force. And I used to train that a maximum presence can be minimum force. So in other words, you should not enough police. Minimum force. And then they tell you about baton. You make use of baton. Then you make use of tear smoke. Then as a last resort, you make use of shotgun. Or in the days, used to be greener gun. This is a shotgun designed for riot, which I'm going to talk about in a short while. So you went out there, so nothing wrong with going out with firearm. But people got to be trained on how to use the firearm. And let me go now. I'm going to invite them to read. Police who are here, the senior officers in particular, read Section 307 to Section 314 of the Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 8 to 1 of the Laws of Guyana. It deals with riots and similar offenses. And when you go out there, the law says, that's what the law, not slow censor. It talks about the minimum use of force. It says that you got to read, and even with the training, you go out there, you got to warn the people to disperse. I didn't see they had no bullhorn or anything to warn the people. That was the first thing once you go out there, the people, you got to warn them to disperse. You got to warn them to disperse. And if they fail to heed the warning, then you go to the next stage, which might be baton, which might be tear smoke, before you get to lethal fire. The training used to be too, that you go out with a long baton. So in addition to the verbal warning to disperse, you have a button which says disperse, or we will shoot or disperse, or we'll fire. A big button, a big banner is there to tell the people that you're likely to do that. But I see none of that there. And even before you move into the thing, even before, that's what the last say, read section 309 of the Criminal Law Offences Act 801. It talks about reading the riot proclamation. I see Pastor Smith and these people would have been trained to do that. You read the riot proclamation the people are writing. And the only time the law says that you're not allowed to, or you're not you can go without use force without reading that is if you are prevented from reading the riot proclamation, if the conduct of the crowd prevented you from reading the riot proclamation. And this thing, as I said, I used to train this. I used to train people on riot proclamation. I know when you were at the TSU and you're doing drill and musketry, if you're doing examination for gazetted, this is one of the questions you would have been asked, to write the riot proclamation. And I can remember some important part. Then you say, His Excellency the President charges and commands all persons being assembled immediately disperse to the lawful. Let me write it down. Immediately to disperse themselves and to peaceably depart to their habitation or lawful place of business upon the pain of being guilty of an offense on which you might be convicted for an offense and sentenced to prison for life. A paraphrasing. By command of the president, the riot proclamation has to be read before you say you're going to shoot. And once the riot proclamation is read, the law gives the people time to disperse, because you can't expect that you're going to read the proclamation and people can just vanish. The law gives them time, can't remember the exact time frame, 10 to 15 minutes or something to disperse. And the law goes on to say if they fail to disperse within that time, they are guilty of an offense. And let me read the proclamation again. I have it written down. I'll paraphrase it just now, right? His Excellency the President charges and commands all persons being assembled immediately to disperse themselves and peaceably to depart to their habitation or to their lawful business, upon the pain of being guilty of an offense, on conviction for which they may be imprisoned or they may be sentenced to imprisonment for life, by command of the President. Section 309 of the Laws of Guyana, Chapter 801. And who can read the proclamation? The law tells you any justice of the peace or the mayor of a town can read. Those are the people who are empowered by law to read the proclamation. Any justice of the peace. And that is why police officers, gazetted officers from the rank of assistant superintendent are made, that's one of the reasons, are made ex officio justice of the peace. Ex officio mean by virtue of their office. I don't know if those officers who are there are ex officio justice of the peace, and whether therefore they are empowered to read the riot act. If they are not, then they got to call on the mayor, because that is what the law says. The mayor to read and a teaching. Because I'm saying I anticipate that you're going to get other similar incidents. And if they don't prepare, because if a few months away from what is supposed to be election, you get action like that, unprofessional action like that. Imagine when they get later, when they get political meetings and all of that. I used to lecture the Public Order Act, 1603 of the Laws of Guyana, dealing with meetings and processions. And at time like these, leading up to elections, you used to ramp it up. Classes at different levels. Who can, how you deal with public meetings. What happens, who get the permission, who get the authority to grant permission to meetings and all of that. Use of noisy instrument. All of this training should have been full in advance now. Full in advance, and you would not have gotten that fiasco that you had there yesterday. So what we saw there yesterday, I said, was a ragtag. The physical presence of the police, ragtag. Disorganized bunch. Untidy ragtag, disorganized bunch. That is what we saw. And part of the training too is that when you are going out to engage in public order issue, the dress and deportment is important. You have to be impressive, well turned out, well organized to impress the crowd that you mean business. That walking out there, what we see, I saw some videos, you have a laugh, where men, when the things started, the police running, and men behind them pelting at them, police running. with a shield and they're running. And then they claim they abandoned the vehicle and people vandalize the vehicle. What do you expect? What do you expect? People vandalizing the vehicle when they run and they went away. All because it was wrong action. It was wrong police action. Let me before I go further, I want to see Mr. Conway there. CC, are you there? I think Mr. Conway, yeah, he is here. So let me bring him in to make some comments and based on what I've said. CC, are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. I'm trying another device and not get a computer, so I'm using my phone.
All right, you can go ahead now. And you would have heard me talking about what should have happened yesterday morning and what eventually happened. Do you want to make any comment on that?
I agree with you, it's lack of proper planning that they need to, as you mentioned before, just the night before, sit down and come up with a proper plan of action how we deal with the situation. And you mentioned the various stages that they have to do in terms before you open fire. Apparently, as you said, ragtag, no proper planning, no, and then they look disorganized. And I see that they're backing, and they're backing. And like maybe they could do a lot of backballing, and some getting some stones from them, and they backballing and going away about the place. I even saw that someone of the youngsters got like one of the shoes that they abandoned. The thing is that you got to be properly prepared. And by now, the police force should have been properly prepared. This is coming down to election season. Properly prepared for riots, for disturbances, for meetings that will be disrupted and all kind of things. But that is not evident. That is not evident. But they still have a little more time maybe they can current situation. And then they need to look at what happened a couple of years ago. They murder on the bridge where three persons were murdered, were slaughtered here. There are lessons to be learned. Those things that should make them case studies and make them so that people could learn from them. Have training exercises, both theory and practical. But what I saw there wasn't impressive and wasn't the way, wasn't professional at all.
Yeah, no professional action you saw there yesterday. That's what resulted in the death of that man. And the information coming to hand, I don't know how true it is that he was not even part of the protest. They claim that he came from town and he was going his merry way. And the shoot. But let me come to that part now. Because we all who look, well, not we all, I saw the image of that man laying there bleeding. They put him on a motorcycle, took him, rushed him to get medical attention. It simply means, from what I saw there, that the type of firearm that was used is not the type of firearm that should be using in a crowd disorder, in a public order situation. And even if the firearm were correct, it was clear that the ammunition that they used would not have been the correct ammunition. And let me talk about that too. Let me talk about that because they might accuse me of revealing certain things, but I don't care at this stage. Because this is the only way, this is the only opportunity I get to teach them, even though people are not going to hear, to teach them. First of all, you have, when you go out on a situation, and this is to the people who say that police should not go there with firearms. Police are usually armed with sidearms, which is pistol or revolver. They are armed with rifles, lethal rifles. They are armed also with shotgun. They are armed with tear smoke and all the like. All of those things you go through at the same time. At the same time. Now let me come to the shotgun part. Because I would tell, I don't want to big up myself, but I'm telling you what it is. You have shotguns in the right unit. I'm going to tell you what numbers and all that. Shotgun in the right unit. Now, but back in the day, in 1992, when I was in charge of the TSU, and even before that, and shortly, well, not too long thereafter, you never had what we call now the shotgun. You had the greener gun. All the police that gave on this Bible remember. Greener gun. It was a specially designed gun to deal with riots. It was used a lot in prisons and so on. A greener gun. That is what you had. Now, the greener guns at the TSU and in the force, there were two types of greener guns. You had the greener Mark III and the greener Mark III 12. I'm going into my teaching mode because, as I said, I taught those things for years. Now, the greener Mark III gun fired a special brass cartridge. This thing was specially designed for crowd disturbances. A special brass cartridge, the Greener Mark III fired. The Greener Mark 312 also fired a a different type of brass cartridge, but it's also fired any kind of 12 gauge cartridge. Let me go back there again. Greener Mark 3, Greener Mark 312. And the police still get them. Still have them in some place. The Mark 3 fired, we say greener, I think the Americans call it greener, greener or greener, whatever it is, Greener. That was the spelling. Greener Mark 3, Mark 312. Mark 3 special brass cartridge. So you have to know, if a person was armed with a Mark 3, you have to get this special. It's a longer brass cartridge. And if you had a 312, then you had the other type of brass cartridge. But that also fired any type of 12 gauge cartridge. 1992, October the 5th, as I told you all, I out on the road dealing with crowds that were looting and all this type of thing. We had the greener guns. That is what we used to carry fire there. We then found ourselves in a situation where many of the cartridges in the Mark 3 and the Mark 312 were misfiring. They were misfiring, they're stopping, nothing. They're cold, them things that years since Noah was a boy, since during the British time, those things were there. I then, because of my knowledge and so on, I round up, we went to the TSC with the unit. And we exchanged those greener guns. I remember Good Luck was there at the armory. We exchanged the greener guns for 12 gauge shotguns. They had Mossberg 12 gauge shotguns. I said, look, we're going to use the Mossberg 12 gauge shotgun instead. And the reason why we choose that too, because the barrel, which is important, was relatively short. And I told them we wanted buckshots. Number 4, I think it was, right? Number 4 buckshots. So we went back there and we were able to use, I remember well, when we went back there now, I instructed my men. I remember some of them I named who were there with me. I said, no one is to fire unless I give you instruction to fire. No one is to fire. I want to know while we were shooting is that cowboy story. Even though the people were rioting, no one is to fire. And then what we did, I then instructed them. You got a man who was in the live here, he was part of the unit, now calling him. They're in the UK now. Told them to fire a few rounds in the air, which they did. And then the people, they were retreating. And when we fired a few rounds in the air, they decided, you heard them saying, oh, they're flying blanks, they're flying blanks. And they stopped retreating and they started to come towards us. At which stage, I told them, I said, pass one of the shotgun to me. And I fired it in the ground because that nobody is seriously injured. And then you had having trouble. Well, I think I should be okay now. Yeah, I think I should be okay. I see the image come back up. We're going to try to get over it, I'm going to try, I'm going to do my best to get over it. They say I was frozen, but I can see that I'm back up now. So just let me know if you can see and hear me now again. Yes, good. All right, so let me move on. And I took it, fired a few things, and then the people, we dispersed. No one was seriously injured. No one. People must have gotten pellets and so on. But let me tell you this. They're using shotgun now. They got a man who's the deputy commissioner of operations, and they got a lot of them around. They ain't got a clue. Even when you use shotguns, you have got to make sure that the barrel is relatively short. I think they recommend like 28 inches, right? You have to be sure that they are using number 4 pellets, buckshots. But from the evidence that I saw there yesterday and what happened at Linden in 2012, they went with shotgun and they're using slugs. and bigger things. Let me show you this image. Look at it, folks. Look at it. This is from what was there yesterday. These are shotgun casings. These are shotgun casings. Look, somebody displaying one of the pellets of the shotgun. That is not BB. That is not board shots. That is not board shot. That is some big slug. So people must be killed. You cannot go out. You have got to check to make sure. I believe just pick up any type of ammunition, any type of 12 gauge. You cannot do that. You cannot if you're going to deal with public disorder. You have got to make sure that you get the smallest loads. And this thing that talk about rubber bullets, I don't know that they have rubber bullets. I don't know. I know you have pellets, shotgun pellets. And when we talk about shotgun pellets in a crowd control situation, folks, what Ikin, I know Ikin been a TSU, man, if you learn them things, and others, you have got to know, and the instructors there, the man in charge of TSU, a very important thing, you have got to know the cone of fire for the particular shotgun. Let me repeat that. You have got to know the cone of fire for the particular shotgun. Meaning, from the time the pellets leave the barrel of the shotgun, at a particular distance, what diameter it will cover. And as it goes out in a cone shape. So you got to know what the cone over the various distances until it loses its velocity. And the training is, once you know the cone, you make sure you engage when it is at the maximum cone. Imagine a funnel, it goes out like that in the funnel shape. You have got to know all of these things, and people got to be taught that. So I say buckshot, yeah, buckshot. Buckshot. Either board shots and buckshots are lethal. This one I know we're talking about. Buckshots in a right, you use board shots, but as I've said, you got to know the cone, and you have to use it from a particular distance. All firearms are lethal, all. So if you get the board shots and you fight at point blank range, you're going to kill the man, or you're going to kill people. And the intention is never to kill. The intention is never to kill, it's to disperse the crowd. So when you say all are lethal, yes, you're correct, all are lethal. But the training is, you have got to know the cone, and you have got to engage so that it is not lethal. You have got to engage with them so that it becomes less than lethal. Buddy, I teach this thing for years. I taught it for years at the police. And even though a little old now, a lot of the things I will remember. So don't tell me about buckshots. You said buckshots and buckshots are lethal. Board shots and buckshots, all are lethal. All are lethal. But then you train to engage at particular distances so the lethality is negated. So let me understand this thing clearly. But I don't know they know the cone of fire. Because it is clear, the fact that man was struck and killed, it means that there no cone of fire. They just shoot, and the man was within the lethal range. The man would have been within, the evidence show clearly that he was within the lethal range, and that is why he was killed. So I am saying this to say to them, this investigation they're going to do, all of that they need to look into. All of that. What weapons were the people armed with? Those casings that I showed you just now, these things should have been picked up as exhibits. Look, 3 and 2, 5 and 2, 7, 2, 9 at this one place. 9 empty casings. And I'm sure all day, I understand, they were firing and firing indiscriminately without any justification to fire. None whatsoever. So I'm saying again, yes, Mr. Whoever made the comment, I don't try to berate students, but I'm in a mood. So if you feel offended, let me apologize. Right? That's not the intention. The intention is to teach. And I'm saying again, all firearms. We used to tell people as a teach them firearms were designed for one purpose and one purpose only: kill. Whether they are revolvers, whether they are shotguns, whether they are pistols, whether they are assault rifles, whether they are rifles, whatever type, machine gun, submachine gun, they were all designed to kill. And therefore, that's what I used to introduce when I as a firearm instructor, I used to introduce them and tell them that firearms were designed to kill. So therefore, if you have an instrument designed to kill and you point it at someone, you got to be extremely careful. That is how I introduced that subject to my class. So yes, Mr. Student, it has to do with the training. At what range would you engage the people? But, and I'm talking about the investigation with the promise. All of the things I showed you just now should be part of the exhibits for at any investigation. It should be collected. I don't know who collected and add them on social media like that. But right away you see something definitely is wrong. Something is wrong. Now let me go on to say I address the rubber bullet issue. I told you about the cone of fire. I told you why how the shotguns were introduced to the riot unit, and I introduced it, so I could talk about that with authority. I introduced shotguns into the riot unit. It is likely to be more lethal. Level of not the barrel itself, barrel and the ammunition. So therefore, if you put the same board shots in a 30-inch or 36-inch barrel, it's going to be more lethal than if you put in a 28-inch in a gun with a 28-inch barrel. You have got to understand that. And therefore, you have got to make sure that the shotguns that are identified to be used in a public order situation are specially selected so that, and the ammunition is also specially selected so that you don't kill people. Because the aim will never be to kill people, or should not be to kill people. But given what happened in 2012, when Akin was there, where 3 persons died, and what happened yesterday again, where this one man died yesterday morning, it clearly shows that they don't know what's going on. They don't know what is going on. And my driver is on here. My driver, Patrick, yeah. And I have 2 drivers by the name of Patrick. And this is the one, Mr. Patrick Rodney. He was the driver. So these people can verify what I'm telling you now. I don't come here and spew nonsense. It's not Thursday afternoon, Tanti more cost down. This is people to provide education to all of them. And let me, again, somebody wrote yesterday to say that the commander, Mr. Simon, should be demoted and removed and all of that. That's why I'm saying this to you. If you are going to call on the commander to remove, what happened to Robesman, the Minister of Home Affairs? He can't run the division. What happened to Akin, the Commissioner of Police? From the time this incident occurred Monday night, what action did they take? What preemptive action did they take? That is what the inquiry should reveal. And I showed us sit down there, they did perhaps little or nothing. They took the report and they sat on the laurels, ending up in a lot of Wild West arrangement there yesterday. And somebody said to me, why didn't the minister go there and direct the show? He just got at fire scene and he telling them, put your oars at the source of the fire. Why did he not go to Linden yesterday and tell them, shoot in this direction? Or why he ended up? He seems to be a know-all. You know how to fight fire? You have to know how to deal with public order as well. He ought to know that as well. I'm going to close off in a short while because I have a lot of things to talk about here. And, the president came out with a statement yesterday, and he said, among other things, police came out with a statement too. Let me read the police statement. Police said that a protester was shot. This is what is carried in yesterday. A protester was shot dead at Linden today by the police following unrest over the killing of a man by a cop yesterday. It is not clear whether or how the protester was shot, but there is a video of the bloodied, limp body of the man being placed on a motorbike. Then they're quoting somebody said, look, they don't kill Dan. Them man killed Dan. Said a screaming woman as the motorbike sped away with the bloodied man. The police today issued the following statement. Hear what the police statement said. Gazette police said, Gazetted police officers were injured during unrest in Linden. Police discharged rounds at the crowd in an effort to mitigate the situation where they were burning tires and destroying government infrastructure. Well, the infrastructure got to be the road they're talking about. Additionally, as police engaged the protesters, they were greeted with missiles. Two rounds discharged at the protesters, causing the demise. They said the rounds discharged at the protesters caused the demise of a protester. The ranks were placed under arrest, and the Office of Professional Responsibility has commenced an investigation. Members of the regional security system will lead an independent investigation. Police vehicles were also vandalized and damaged in the process. President Ali had issued the following statement, quote, I have been fully briefed on the current situation in Linden. The commissioner has advised me on the immediate action taken. One, the police officers involved in the two incidents are currently under close arrest. Two, a full investigation will be conducted with the support of the regional security system. Three, every aspect of these incidents will be examined thoroughly and transparently with external oversight. I will meet with the family members and community leaders to ensure their voices are heard and their concerns fully taken into account. I'm appealing to all residents to remain calm and allow the independent investigation to be completed. All actions required in this as a result of the findings from the investigation will be pursued to the fullest extent. That is what the president said. President also said, I have a quote from him here too, where he said, and I had to laugh. He said yesterday, this is not a political issue, quote, this is not a political issue, this is a serious matter. So the president is implying that political issues are not serious matter, and I agree with him with that. A lot of the political issues that you have, and you're going to hear about some of them tomorrow afternoon, can't be serious, can't be serious, cannot be serious. So, folks, let me bring in Mr. Conway to give his closing, and I'm going to tell you where we go from here. CC, I just be having
Yeah.
control. You're closing, my brother.
Okay. Well, I don't know about the investigation that's said to be done by RSS because that body is really designed to deal with disasters and everything. Unless I think like hurricane and flooding and those kind of things. Unless they well maybe they're mistaken what as a disaster. Maybe perhaps a disaster. But they don't have the investigative technique. And like the last time when they came, they said about command. And they come and said that the police get capability to deal with the matter. I remember the president had said that the Minister of Affairs would deal with it when I make the report public. And then the minister said that it is confidential. So I have no confidence in RSS being an investigative unit there. I have no confidence whatsoever in them. And you boil down the Office of Professional Responsibility. They don't even have the capability. Perhaps they need to have a proper inquiry, maybe available person from overseas from the to deal with it. But the local people, I don't have confidence in them. Paul, you mentioned a whole lot of issues, a whole set of missteps, a whole set of professional behavior. But before I close, let me go back to what I had raised on the last two episodes, where the talk about the corruption, the financial corruption in the Ghana Police Force, Region 178 and the Motor Region 1 and the Police Finance Office. And it's not a lot of documents, bogus documents were submitted recently to the Police Finance Department. And it started to transfer people. One man get transferred two times, and then they get transferred to TSU and then transferred to 4A. So they transfer people, persons who don't cooperate with them, they're victimizing them, and the whole thing is going to flop. I think some people went to the region in Mabarumo and recovered. So it's massive, massive corruption, and they're trying to cover up, and they cover up by committing more fraud. You need to have a proper investigation, the fraud committed, the big set fraud, the multi-million dollar fraud that is committed in the various regions. And then all of this.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. Thank you. Let me just say, when you read the release of the president, and one of the students just reminded me, he talked about RSS and all. The law of Ghana, the Police Complaints Authority Act, Chapter 1702, speaks to who should be also involved in it. The Police Complaints Authority must be, it's mandated by law. So the president come and tell us by RSS or RASS. The Police Complaints Authority, by law, has to have a role in this investigation because you're talking about the death of someone at the hands of the police, 2 deaths for that matter. Look, let me tell you all this. I'm very upset again because of what happened in 2012, and to see this thing come back again with Ikin there and nobody am calling for him to go. I would be interested to know from the time this man was killed Monday night, what instructions were given, what preparations were made in anticipation of any protests yesterday. What did they do? It would appear that they did nothing much, because I don't see any evidence. People are saying that it looked like the police from right to the division were organized to go there. Whether they had any training, but it was apparent that the people were not trained. It is apparent that the people were not trained. Somebody said they already bring in RSS, or it must mean something they already have the RAS. But like CC, I have no confidence in the RSS capability to conduct a proper investigation of regards to what they come when with the Boston case, what they came and what they did. I have no confidence in them. None at all. But let me say this, folks. Again, my apologies for all the interruptions that we had this morning, beyond my control. Internet problems, all sorts of problems. The devil was at work. Perhaps he's still at work. But let me say this. I know the first thing Barley going to say, oh, you got to come again, you got to come again, and so on. And as a result of the interruptions this morning, and we didn't get to really deal with the matters, I got other issues to deal with. We ain't got to deal with those issues. We are going to be back here Friday morning at 12 o'clock. Pass the word around. We're going to come Friday morning to continue the same discussion, because we don't know what will happen between now and then. And we have this fiasco at the with the GRA to discuss too. We have a lot to talk about that too. We mentioned certain aspects, what happened last night, but we have more to talk about. So folks, make sure that you pass the word that we are going to be here again Friday morning at 11 o'clock. I'm going to put up the usual notice. But outside of the notice, we have over 1,500 students here. Pass it along. At one stage, we had 2,000 plus. Let them know that we come in again, God spare life, because everything is up to the big man. Everything is up to the Lord, up to God. You know, so we appoint, but God disappoint. So all things being good, and if the Lord should spare our life, if God should spare our life, we'll come back here Friday morning. I can't play y'all therapy and all the thing today. We ain't got the time. But we're going to come back on Friday morning at 11 o'clock, and we're going to continue this and deal with some other matters. Until then, be well, be well. I like to advise you always to stay safe and be well. Until then, bye.